Diabetes Connections is brought to you by Animas Corporation, providing insulin delivery products for people living with diabetes and part of the One Touch family. And by Dexcom. Take control of your diabetes with the world's first continuous glucose monitoring system that sends glucose readings directly to your compatible smart device. Live life on your own terms with Dexcom. Hi, it's Stacey. This podcast is not intended as medical advice. If you have those kinds of questions, please contact your healthcare provider.
This is Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
Welcome to a bonus edition of Diabetes Connections. This episode may sound a bit different because I wanted to get this information out as soon as possible, and this is all about how to help people with diabetes affected by Hurricane Harvey in the Houston, Texas area. If you're new to the show, welcome. I'm glad you found us. I'm Stacey Sims. My son was diagnosed right before he turned 2, 10 years ago, and we aim to educate and inspire about type 1 diabetes here on the show. It is a weekly program, been doing it more than 2 years, but let's get to the information right now. As you know, Hurricane Harvey slammed into Houston and then dumped more than 50 inches on the metropolitan area over just 4 days. Houston is our nation's 4th largest city. It's hard to get your arms around just how big an emergency this has become, even now, days later. You've likely seen many social media posts about who needs help, how to help. Honestly, I felt like some of it was a bit confusing. So I wanted to try to bring at least one voice from there on the ground, from Houston. Anne Imber has been working around the clock. If you saw that T1 Team Texas graphic on Facebook, that's her phone number on that flyer. And in fact, we had to do this interview on her husband's cell phone because, as you can imagine, hers does not stop buzzing. And just for background, Anne is a longtime type 1 diabetes advocate, blogger, and she is a mom to a type 1 college kiddo. Her son was diagnosed at age 12. She's the founder of Type 1 to Go Teen, a type 1 diabetes educational seminar and website for the non-medical issues that teens and their families face in middle school and high school. I'll link that up in the show notes. Everything we talk about here is linked up in those show notes. That includes how to help T1 Team Texas. Many of you first heard about that through your connection through Dr. Stephen Ponder. You'll also have the links to the big groups Insulin for Life, ADA, and JDRF, those groups working together. For clarity, because podcast episodes can stick around for a long time, this interview was recorded on August 31st, about midday, and here's my talk with Anne Imber. Anne, let's start out. Tell me a little bit about, where you are today, what's going on around you. I know your phone went off in the middle of the night. Paint the picture, if you could, about what's happening.
Okay, well, I am in Cypress, Texas, and in terms of geography, everything in Houston and the surrounding area is flooded. South, north, east, west, you name it. And Cypress is on the far northwest side, but my own subdivision has also flooded, and we have a great deal of damage of homes in this area. All around us has flooded. We just happened to not get it high enough on our street. It came up almost, it came up into our yard, but just got the break when we needed it. So we managed to stay dry, and we managed to keep electricity, which is like those two things combined are amazing. And but we are surrounded by families that have been just devastated, from anywhere from just a few inches of water to up to the second floor. So right now, we're at the point where a lot of people have been displaced, and they may be in shelters or they're living with someone else at the time. They may have been taken from where they were, they escaped prior to the storm, or they had to evacuate quickly. Many of the people that did evacuate, even if they had supplies on hand, those supplies were ruined in the transition of getting from where they were to safety. So right now, the situation is we have so many people in shelters, and that is dissipating a little bit. People will start transitioning out to various places like hotels, friends, family. But what has also happened is we have so much infrastructure that is damaged. We have the pharmacies that have been closed. We have grocery stores that are in the area where normally people go to pick up their supplies. And those things, that's been difficult to get around. We had roads that are continuing to be closed because of the flooding. Yesterday, when we started this, people could not get from point A to point B. And so we were just connecting people that were in an area, basically on an island, to the people that were on that island to get them maybe supplies that they needed. And so that's kind of what we stepped up to do. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but so right now things are getting better, but we still have a tremendous amount of displaced people, and they're running out of supplies, and they're contacting manufacturers for replacements. And of course, we have no mail service. We have no way of shipping things in here. There's no secure way of getting product at this point. And so we're just helping friends right now. People that have what they have that can help someone else. I'm coordinating that because I'm part of the network here in the Houston area of type 1 families. And I know who lives in what areas, and I'm reaching out on social media. And I'm very hyper-focused on my resources because I have to utilize the resources here in Houston because of the inability to get supplies in from elsewhere. And the need is absolutely immediate. I mean, I have people, I had someone calling today that was not in the Houston area but was in Rockport area that they had been in DKA in the hospital, had been released, and they were being seen by an emergency task force just to keep from going in DKA again. And they didn't even have a meter. So we arranged supplies from Houston, the supplies Dr. Ponder had brought in. We arranged like a network of people just meeting along the roads and have that delivered this morning to that task force.
Wow. Yeah, let's talk about Dr. Ponder, because that's what many of us have seen on Facebook is Dr. Stephen Ponder, who is best known probably for sugar surfing if you're not in his immediate area, but a very well-known endocrinologist who has type 1 himself. There's also there's a logo he had for T1 Team Texas. Is that something official?
Yes.
Or is that, tell me about T1 Team Texas.
Okay. T1 Team Texas, what was happening, we had a lot of people wanting to help, and we do have a very strong family support group for our type 1 families here in the Houston area. And it's under a private, you have to go through a screening process called Type 1 Family Network. Now that organization, we have several of those Facebook groups throughout Texas for the different regions of Texas. And we are Type 1 Family Network South. And so everyone in that network, I'm on that network because I'm the mother of a type 1 son. And so ironically, we were supposed to be having a sugar surfing workshop on Saturday that we canceled. And so within that network, we have been reaching out for local supplies and also identifying, you asked about the logo. We had a lot of people doing a lot of different things, wanting to help. And Kelly Champ Crumpler started organizing something, and I got into that network with her. From the connecting standpoint, she was supplies. And so the two of us she started gathering supplies, and I started connecting people because I knew who the people were in the areas, and I knew I could get a hold of certain people in certain areas with their supplies to help other people that had been displaced. And so the people are contacting me now if they need supplies, and they will either text or email me and say, I need something. And then I have a list of sources from our type 1 community of what items they have. So I create a form for each. I'm like, okay, you tell me, and we get all the information, like where they are, cell phone number, because people move around as far as especially those that have been evacuated. So we have to be able to contact them and find them where they are. Right. And Dr. Ponder has been working with Kelly. I mean, of course, Dr. Ponder is amazing, and he's thankfully been high and dry during this. and he's been able to gather supplies in his area and drive them into us. And Kelly is located on the north side of Houston that was able to receive supplies in, and we weren't quite ready to get them as of yesterday, but now we're able to move more freely, and we'll be dispersing those supplies throughout different areas of Houston now that we have an assortment of different things that are needed. We have pump supplies, we have infusion sets, we have all sorts of things, test strips. That's something that's been heavily needed, was test strips and meters, and getting those to where they're needed.
We've seen a lot of pictures on the news of boats and jet skis getting to people when cars and trucks cannot. Are you distributing supplies that way at all?
We have not been. We have not at this point needed to do that.
That's good.
One of the nice things about the Type 1 community, and there is ADA and JDRF and Insulin for Life are doing a major drive to acquire supplies and funds for this, and we're all in support of that. But from my last update from them, they weren't going to get here till Friday, and by then we were already getting requests on Monday and Tuesday of people having run completely out of insulin. We had people, and when we were handing them what they needed, their blood sugars were 400 and 500, and we were really at high risk by Monday and Tuesday. So we needed to kind of step in and fill that gap, and I'm really optimistic that as the big guns come in, that they'll be able to finish meeting all of the needs. They have a lot more of the higher level connections. We're down at the bottom connecting people to people, friends to friends. So, and people that we don't even know. We're making new friends.
Oh, well, you're doing an amazing thing. I mean, as you say, the big guns, hopefully will be there and will be staying and helping people for the long run. But you're filling a gap that is absolutely essential. And my heart goes out to you. I can't imagine how busy you have been for the last few days.
It has been busy. And Dr. Ponder and I were speaking this morning, and I told him today, I said, some of my areas are dark because I'm very familiar with Houston, and I'm very familiar with just the South Coast area and the Gulf Coast area. And I'm like, some of my areas are dark. I'm not getting feedback from people. I know that there's a need down there. And so those needs will start popping up. And when I mean dark, meaning the correspondence has stopped. So I know that those people are normal people that we normally are in contact with that need supplies, that will likely need supplies, but they're displaced. And so we'll try to get supplies down in key areas in those different parts of town, so that as those people pop back up, they're able to go get what they need.
I'm going to link up with this episode, all the information from your side, from, as you mentioned, Insulin for Life and JDRF and ADA working together. Beyond Type 1 has a whole clearinghouse on their website. But
Beyond Type 1 has been very helpful as well. They were able to put all the information into a link that we were able to share with people. And even Texas Children's Hospital stepped in from the very beginning. Monday night, they were sending me lists of pharmacies that were open in the area that we were able to communicate. Because if someone could get to an open pharmacy, then the problem would be solved if they had the product. So there were a number of ways that we could just kind of funnel that information into one place.
People want to help, right? I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. People are in California, Maine, Canada. I have listeners all over the world, really. But if people want to help and they're far away, we're not going to be able to drive to you. What would you like us to do? How can we best help? And I know that help needs to go on beyond today and beyond tomorrow.
Yeah, we will have long-term needs. This will go on for a very long time. And I don't think people realize the impact. Of course, we're looking at it from the diabetes perspective, but these people have left and lost their cars and their source of transportation. Even in preparation for a hurricane, you overspend your grocery budget, you overspend your medical supply budget. And so everything gets completely depleted. And then we see a lot of that happening. I've had people with diabetic families needing food. I mean, they need the means to purchase food. They have depleted their supply. Their car broke down on the way, and they just need a little financial support as well. So we are gathering at this point, because we have enough supplies until, like I said, the big guns come in. We're gathering gift cards because those are really easy to dispense to people that can go and buy additional supplies when that time comes, like from CVS and Walgreens and Target and Walmart. And little things like that we can give to a family when they are continuing to have problems, because that they've lost everything. They've lost clothes, and there's been a lot of clothes delivered down here. But what happens when that happens is there's no means of sorting it or storing it and things like that. That becomes very difficult. So even though it seems like we would need those things, it's better to provide the monetary value at this point, the monetary means, like the gift cards.
Right. So in other words, just something simple. Where should people put it in the mail? Should they give to Insulin for Life? I think people are looking for a way to make an impact that will help you. And, you being there on the ground, you'll know. So if they want to get gift cards, put them in the mail, hold on to them for now? What's the best thing?
We're collecting gift cards at an endocrinology department that's in College Station that has been dry, and they've been receiving some of the supplies that have been so graciously donated from some of the other areas in Texas. That Dr. Ponder, that's just one of the locations where we're collecting supplies.
We'll link up the address where people can send those gift cards. And I'm curious, too, Anne, we mentioned you have a son in college with type 1 who's spent, I would assume, about a decade, you've been in this type 1 world. How do you, what goes through your mind when you hear about the family that has the person in the ER, or they didn't have a meter for 3 days, or, just needs a couple of insets for the pump? I mean, this could really be any of us.
Well, it's interesting because when, I've worked with a couple of things on this. When my son had a lot of challenges through the teen years, so I'm very well familiar. He went into a diabetic coma one night when we lived in Italy, and so we almost lost him there. And when he first went off to college, he went into diabetic ketoacidosis at freshman orientation camp. So my whole type 1 to go teen is developed around educating and teaching people about like transitioning into adulthood. And then I also help people with the 504 plans and things like that in the school setting, and a lot of the non-medical stuff that happens. But for my son, when he went into DKA, it happened so quickly. It happened within a day. He woke up with a stomach bug, and then it was all downhill. And he was, they had a clinic on staff, and he was, went to the clinic repeatedly, and they did not realize the seriousness of his situation. And it took them too long to get him to the hospital. And by the time they got him to the hospital, they had to ship him by ambulance 5 hours back to, Texas Children's Hospital here in Houston, because their hospital basically said, we cannot handle him here. So I know the seriousness of DKA, and even just this last June, I went to his college campus. It's been 2 years now, and we introduced Beyond Type 1's DKA campaign. So that's a big passion of mine as well, educating families, because we see a lot of kids that go into DKA in those years when they're transitioning into adulthood. They, so they're 20, but, they really are on their own for the first time and not always communicating how they feel. So that DKA passion is a big deal for me. And one of my dear friends here in Houston has led the charge for DKA awareness with the Pediatric Association here in Texas. And so I know how quickly something like that can go downhill, and that's why we stepped in immediately to fill the needs, because you can't wait till Friday. I mean, it would be nice if you could, but these people can't wait till Friday. Something can go bad within 12 to 24 hours, and for those of us in the diabetes community, we're well aware of that. And so we're trying to keep people from encountering further complications and being in a hospital. And the hospitals aren't even accessible. Things are getting better, but in the beginning they weren't. And we were trying to keep people out of the hospital. That was our goal.
Well, Anna, I cannot thank you enough. It is amazing to see the effort that you and everybody there is putting in. It is one big family. It's a cliche to say it, But man, we've been watching on social media, and you and Dr. Ponder, just the posts and the outpouring have been amazing. I just want to say thank you. And I can't represent everybody enough who wants to say that to you personally.
Well, can I say a couple more things? I want to thank
go
some
right
of the
ahead.
people that have reached out. Of course, Dr. Ponder has been amazing, and everybody knows him. So when he asks for help, they're there. Kelly Champ Crumpler she's really spearheading this. She stepped up, and I said she has a lot of experience in stuff like this, and she started listing her experience, and I said, you lead and I will follow. And so that's kind of what we've done. And then we delegated. I have a great team of people that have been willing. I delegate a lot of the information. I get a call and then I send it out. I have an army of type 1 families making phone calls as I get information in. They'll pick up the phone and call these families and listen to their stories and get a full, thorough information list of what they need so that we can get them exactly what it is they need in the time frame that they need it. So it's definitely an army of families working together. And what you see in the type 1 diabetes community is a giant hug from everyone. But what we're doing down here in Houston with T1 Team Texas is we're doing hand-to-hand, so the diabetes community is putting out the hugs, and we're doing the hand-to-hand down here in the meantime while we wait for the big guns down here. And we have a lot of people that have helped us. Can I mention some names of some companies?
Please go right ahead, yeah.
Pump Pills, Transcend Foods, the GlucoLift glucose tabs, Insulin Corporation, Omnipod, Medtronic MiniMed, Tandem Diabetes, and Macy's Believers out of Florida, the Beatty's Brothers from Oklahoma, Aggie's Moms of Houston, and then, of course, countless Facebook groups that our type 1 diabetes communities participate in, and they've been a tremendous help to us. So just a lot of people pulling together to make this happen.
Well, Anne, my microphone is yours. If you need it, if any of the people you mentioned may need it, please let me know if we can spread the word. I'm here to help in any small way that I can. But thank you again, Anne Imber. You are just doing incredible things. Your team is doing wonderful things. And we just hope that you can continue. Can't thank you enough.
Yep, we hope that our job will be able to, be finished at some point with the emergencies, and then we'll enter into a long-term maintenance mode because this will go on for a while. Hopefully we'll be able to work with the agencies like Insulin for Nation and JDRF and ADA as they come in and to share our information with them so that they continue their work down here in Houston.
Sounds good. And I hope we'll talk again soon under better circumstances. But just keep me posted, Ann, and anytime. Just text me and we'll pop you back on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you contacting us.
Can you even imagine? Man, they are doing such good work there, and I can't thank Anne again enough for popping on. She's working these 14-hour days. People are calling her in the middle of the night. Just incredible. So all the information that we talked about is linked up at diabetes-connections.com, also in the show notes, wherever you're listening to the podcast, whatever podcast app you are listening through, like Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or whatever, there's always episode notes, so that will be marked and linked, including the address to send the gift cards to. And the best gift cards, Anne says, are the big stores like Target, Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens. You think about what kind of supplies are going to be needed. And I will link up the address as well so you can see it. If you're on social media, it's a little difficult to get those show notes, but we'll post it along best we can on the Diabetes Connections Facebook page along with this audio. If you're listening that way, it should be there, and if it's not, it will appear shortly. I'm also linking up all the information from Beyond Type 1, from the American Diabetes Association, JDRF, and Insulin for Life, those three groups working together, as she called them, the big guns, who are coming in soon with more supplies and more resources. But as you heard Anne say, the work on the ground from the individuals who have started this will not stop. It will continue, and we will continue to bring you all the information that we can as best we can in the days and the weeks to come. If you're new to the podcast, maybe this is the first time you've ever heard of Diabetes Connections, this is not the time or the place to do a whole big song and dance about the show, but we are a weekly podcast educating and inspiring, hopefully, about type 1 diabetes, and you can find out more at diabetes-connections.com. It's amazing to see our community come together. It is so inspiring. It is so heartening, but this is a lot of hard work, and our community is not out of the woods yet. So thanks for all you're doing, thanks for all you've done, and stay tuned. I'm Stacey Sims.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.